Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be having a look at Hero, released here by 88 Films on Blu-ray, starring Takeshi Kaneshiro, Yuen Biao and Yuen Biao. Not to be confused with the Jet Li vehicle of the same name, also called Hero, made back in 2002. This film we're looking at today is a remake of one of my favourite Shaw Brothers movies of all time, starring Cheng Wan-tai, and that is Boxer from Shantung. Directed by Corey Yuen here. I mean to take on and remake, like a classic Shaw Brothers movie. I mean, you've got to be quite brave, you've got to be quite bold. It's a bold move, it's a remaking something you like, if you remade 36 Chambers of Shaolin or 36 5 Venoms, you're going to be up against it. There's going to be if you're taking a classic kung fu movie and you're trying to redo it, bring it up to date, whatever you're trying to do, it's a big ask. It's you're setting up a big task ahead of you. While the film does have all the trace elements of Boxer from Shantung in place, the two brothers, a hero wanting to better himself, the two gang leaders, one sort of good, the other one sort of bad, the film does unfortunately miss a few marks. It's not perfect by any means, and a few steps here and there it does stumble a little bit. As many of my friends have said before, the whole film feels more, a lot of people I know have said it, the whole film has always felt like it's like a TV movie. It doesn't all actually seem like a big budget sort of Hong Kong movie. It almost feels like it's something that was on TV rather than an all-out motion picture. Yuen Biao and Yuen Biao, as always, do a fantastic job. I mean, you expect no less from both of them. There's just something about Hero I always felt feels somewhat cheap and thrown together. If you have seen this movie, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. But to me personally, it's always felt like it's always been a just bit thrown together, as if it was shot in such a rush and each scene never really has time to get going and build before we move on to the next one. I remember this being on DVD. I remember this coming out on DVD in the late 90s, and I never bought it, mainly because I wasn't even sure who Takeshi was that much, but I'd seen him in Don't Give a Damn with Sammo Hung and Dr. Wei with Jet Li, and I didn't know that, but he was a character of I didn't know at the time, but he was actually the character of the model of Summonusuke from the Onimusha video game franchise by Capcom. A lot of people don't like the colour palette of this movie as well, saying it's somewhat dreary in tone. The film is not awful, believe me, it's good. It has there are elements there, and there is a lot to be enjoyed here. It's just when you are remaking a Shaw Brothers classic and you have Corey Yuen directing and Yuen Biao and Yuen Biao in place, I guess as a fan, I just expected more, or like I said, maybe I'm looking at the original too fondly, but I think they do with with the people involved, Corey Yuen, as I say, and you just think, oh, that's got to be awesome. I just expected more. The original had that wonderful Shaw scope. The colours were bright, bright. The blood was redder, better set design, a wonderful and bittersweet climax. And I think the way this film, it never really gets going, unfortunately. As I say, I do enjoy Hero. I'm not knocking it. As I say, everything is in place in this movie. It's there. Everything is there. It's set up. Everything is in place. It just doesn't get off the starting grid, unfortunately. Just like Takeshi does a great job as our lead here, and he's more than good enough as Ma. And I think as well we had Yuen Biao as our comic relief here. Corey Yuen himself as Uncle Po also as comic relief, takes somewhat of the seriousness out of what is meant to be sort of a gangland drama, kung fu sort of epic. They sort of go down the whole comedy route. And, at least the original sort of was, that sort of dramatic kung fu mobster epic. I still enjoyed this movie, and it's worth watching for Yuen Biao as Tam, who handles the part. I mean, Yuen Biao in this handles the part perfectly. It's a wonderful performance from Yuen Biao. And because of Yuen Biao, basically, and Yuen Biao, Hero is saved. With them two involved, they really do save the film. But if you read this inlet by Andrew Graves that comes with this movie as well, if you do have a copy of this, if you do read what he has to say about the movie, bearing in mind this is meant to the booklets inside DVDs and Blu-rays, sometimes when they do that, it's meant to sort of promote the film or give you some insight into the film. He basically just slags the film off. I don't even think 88 Films probably even proofread what he had written, but he really doesn't give Hero much praise with his booklet inside that. So if you do pick up this copy of Hero, have a look what Andrew Graves says in the booklet inside, because he really tears the film a new one. He really does go into it. You only need to look at the opening of the movie. When I talk about how cheap it is, or it feels like it was a TV movie, where the opening credits, it's just screen grabs and mugshots from the movie you're about to watch. It really doesn't sort of, when a film's like that and it's just sort of showing, you know, screen grabs from a film you're about to watch, it's like, couldn't they have done something more inventive, more, more original? So we learn of Tam and Yun Sun, who are like two main bosses and crime lords of Shanghai. So Takeshi and Yuen Biao come up to search Shanghai's brothers looking for work. By all means, go back, check out my Boxer from Shantung video, which I will leave in the description below, because as I say, I can't praise that movie enough. Boxer from Shantung is one of my all-time favourites. So the film does have elements of scope, like with the opening shots of the train and all these extras and people looking for work. There is that element of scope there, and Corey Yuen does, as the opening for the movie, does work quite well. We learn that Jung, the film, it does have there's people we learn that Jung has the police on his side, and yet Tam has the British. So Ma meets Yuen Biao, who flips him a coin. It's like, you can clean my horse daily from now on. Yuen Biao, of course, in this playing the David Chiang character from the original. Warrior's like, pick it up, it's more than you get now for carrying sacks. Biao is like, don't pick him up, and offers him his watch, and so begins an action scene involving this action scene that opens the movie involves a very, very, very fake horse, which it does take you out of the moment somewhat in that initial, that initial action scene. Even though this sort of semi-chase does get the action going, it sort of puts us on the right track. Like, you think, okay, this is the kind of film it's going to be. It's going to be one of them films where everything's done bigger and more, like some wire work here and there and things like that. Even though Semi-Chase does get it going. Biao tells him not to kneel so easily. Ma doesn't take his watch. So Tam is like, if you find me, I'm sure I can help you at Spring Lake, which is like a club. But as I say, regarding Yuen Biao's performance, he really, in many ways, carries the film. He really, without Yuen Biao, I think this film would suffer even more. But the fact that Yuen Biao's involved, it's worth watching for that alone. Because as I say, it's a wonderful performance from Yuen Biao. And he, as I say, he plays the character really well. He's quite invested in his character as well, and you can tell he's actually taking it as a serious job. So the brothers go there, and in some snazzy suits, Mars tries to chat up the cigarette girl, then joins band leader Corey Yuen on stage for like a mambo jam for some reason. Fight breaks out in the club, and nice moves here and there. Does a nice kick across like three guys' faces at one point. The four heavenly kinds of boss Yuen were responsible, and they are like, why did you help? Who the hell are you? You can see now, like, you can see how tough and strong, full of determination he is. He breaks the leader's fingers. He doesn't want their money for helping, and did it from a bit like the first film. If you remember when Jen Kwan Tai, like, I didn't do it for you, I did it for myself. I did it because I wanted to help. I'm not doing it for any charity. I don't want your money, that kind of thing. So they still get that element of the character right. They still sort of get that trait of, with Ma, that element of he is just doing this on his terms. He's doing it the way he wants to do it. He doesn't want handouts. He doesn't want, charity or anything like that. He's doing it for himself. So still following the same beats as real. Like I say, though Takeshi does a great job, he just lacks that certain charm and determined, confident smile that Chen Kwan. If you remember in the original Boxer from Shantung, Chen Kwan Tai's always got that cheeky smile on him. He's always smiling, like he knows, he's confident everything's going to be all right, it's going to work out. And he just, unfortunately, Takeshi, for all his best effort, and he's okay as Ma, I just think, comparing it to Chen Kwan Tai's performance, I just think it sort of pales in comparison a little bit. A bit cheesy when he is looking for Cam Lingzing's photo outside the club, and she is singing inside, and we have like this split screen shot of them both. So some shots in the movie are a bit hacky, they are a bit a bit cheap or whatever it may be. And like I mentioned, even the start of the movie where you're just seeing screen grabs from the film, it's like, couldn't they have come up with something more original and just something that was a bit different? There are moments of comedy, as I say, like when they rob these guys and you see Yuen Biao in a kilt, something I thought I'd never ever see. He sets up for date for Ma and the girl, and it's like, if you have any sisters, bring them along too. So they get arrested when waiting for this girl to show up, and as the Westerners who had their clothes pinched them, they sort of get reported. They learn the police are going to like the Blue Lotus to arrest Master Tam, Yuen Biao's character. And there's a really funny scene as well in this movie where Yuen Biao are trying to get the gun for Ma, sort of in the police station. and he like hands him his shoe first, and he doesn't trust him as he think he'll be mean. Then he gives him the gun, but without any bullets in it. And it's what Yuen Biao, again mentioning Yuen Biao, but Yuen Biao as well, puts in a really, I mean, Yuen Biao is so talented because he can do comedic roles, he can do villainous roles, he can do everything. And he's, as I say, in this, when he's on comedic form like here, he's a really funny talent. Great scene between Yuen Biao and Yuen Tak at the banquet where he's like, back off my turf, Baldy, which I love that line. So the police turn up to arrest them. We see Yuen Biao smoking again, which I always find weird to see. I mean, it's like when he smokes in Right and Wrongs. I think he smoked in On the Run as well. But I mean, does Yuen Biao, or does he, or has smoked in real life? I don't know. Do any of you out there know if Yuen Biao does smoke in real life? Let me know. So Tam gets ambushed in a fast, brutal fight scene as he is leaving down an alley. The fight scenes are all quite rough and ready and brutal, as you would expect from a film that's sort of based on Boxer from Shantung, where there is sort of no rules, there's no etiquette, it's very much street brawls and that kind of thing. I just think the main downer about them all is they simply, with the fights in this movie, they just don't go on long enough. Going back to what I said earlier, it's like every time something gets going, whether it's an action scene, emotional scene, or a dialogue scene, it really always does feel like it ends too soon. Like it would do a scene, right, onto the next one, and then onto that. It's like every fight that happens in this movie, unfortunately, it just always falls a bit too short. It's like I think they really could have benefited from being a bit longer. So Ma saves him. The girl's upset like he didn't meet her as he got arrested, and Yuen is like, I'm going to wipe out all of Yuen Tak's joints. Biao gives Ma the responsibility of looking after Spring Lake and threatens the police like to leave him alone. As I say, Yuen Biao perfectly cast in the movie. So the girl and Uncle Po, Kuro Yun's character, gets sacked from the club. Ma goes to take over Chinfu Lane in order to claim some turf for himself. So he gets there and just starts cutting everyone's hand off, basically. You know, like on the original, like if you want to take over a casino, you just go to the place and beat them up. That the rules still sort of apply here. So as I say, just cuts on off, like hands off and things like that. I can't stress enough that the film is just too. Unfortunately, it's, you know, like sometimes the problem is when a film's too slow paced, going back to what I reviewed previously with like New Fist of Fury, the problem is with this movie, it's too fast paced. I think it, like his rise to power and his notoriety is not gradual enough, unfortunately, like with the Ma character. The original is over 2 hours long. This film is done and dusted in like 90 minutes. I think that his rise to power should have been a lot more gradual. I think Kuro Yuen should have taken a bit more time with Ma getting to that place that Chen Quan Tai does in the original. Like all of a sudden, suddenly Ma is like a big shot. You know, he's just switched and he's a big shot. So Tam comes to visit him to tell him to back off a bit as he is stepping on the constabulary. He has to go to his new girlfriend too. He's like his fiancée, and it's almost like Ma is laughing at Tam in this scene as well, which is something Ma didn't do in the original regarding Tam. He didn't. He sort of idolised this guy. He wanted to be him. He liked the life he wanted, and he wanted that from himself. But here he sort of ridicules him a little bit and sort of laughs at him. His fiancée sort of like with Ma sort of controlling him as being blinded by his lust for power and control. And there is a hell of a lot of smoking in the movie as well, which really does work with that sort of gangster ideal. So they have a fight. He chases after and gets ambushed by guys on bikes with burning torches and rickshaw operators. Even at one point, he uses the wheels of his carriage to fight them off. Ma gets absolutely axed like the crap out of here, right? He gets absolutely axed the crap out of. Who saves him? The horse does at one point, and the horse actually saves him, but the horse then gets cut down as well. His new fiancée sold him out to Yuen Tak, and she gives the final blow. Yuen Biao gets ambushed too and gets shot in the kneecap, and Yuen Hsuan is going to sell him out to the police, basically. So after being left for dead after falling off a bridge into the water, it just so happens Corey and the singer girl he has a crush on from earlier happen to find him and take him onto their boat. They just have, because they've got to mention they got sacked. They happen to find him after he gets thrown off this bridge, and they sort of take him in and sort of look after him on their sort of barge. Yuen Biao is there too. How they all came together is anyone's guess, but anyway, yeah, they sort of find him. Quite a funny scene when Ma wakes up and can't remember anything. Again, Kuro Yuen putting comedy in where, although funny, didn't need to be there at all. But there is quite a funny scene where he wakes up and he can't remember anything, so they all start making up loads of rubbish, saying that Tam is now a principal and that Yuen became a singer and Yim is now a Taoist priest. the whole idea is they don't want Ma to sort of go back to that life. They sort of want him to forget about it, and they're sort of quite happy that he's forgotten about what happened. Funny scene too when Yuen Biao gets a bra for little Can's birthday, and they all have no idea what it is. Thinking at one point it's a double handkerchief, then a hat, or one of them says like you can actually wrap your food in it. Like a Poe, I don't know why, but I feel look, Uncle Poe, Corey Yun's character says, he just looks at it and says, I don't know why, but I feel kind of aroused when I look at that. And it's meant to be, as I say, and this is meant to be a remake of Boxer from Shantung. You really wouldn't know it if you took that scene out of context. So Yim turns up with her face scarred, saying it wasn't her fault, and Ma learns that Tam is to be executed. You think at first like Yim has sold him out, but actually it was all a ploy so the British can get there first and catch Yuen Tak's men in on the act. So Yuen Tak is now in power. Ma marches on Yuen with Tam's coffin and straps with explosive. Cool shot out here happens with Yuen Biao emerging from the coffin with loads of machine guns, which I thought was quite awesome. Again, very different to what happened in the original, and he sort of lays waste to Yuen's men. I mean, he couldn't have been dead. I mean, if Yuen Biao in your film, you had to make sure there was at least he was there for the final showdown. You know, you couldn't kill Yuen Biao off that early. You had to make sure he was there for the finale. So him and Ma fight Yuen. Loads of people get stabbed, axed and knifed in the movie. It's like with every fight in the movie, the end fight, it's just over way too quick. It's just over way too quick. The end fight is there, it's happening, great, and then it just ends. And the fights in this are very manic. Again, really well choreographed, really well done, but just over too soon. It's just over too quick, and to be honest, it's nowhere near as epic as what the original is. And like I say, with the original pushing 2 hours, this one's like 89, 90 minutes. It's just it doesn't have that epicness about with Ma trying to climb the stairs. You know the original where Ma's trying to climb the stairs, no matter how hurt he is, he keeps trying. That none of that thing sort of happens in this movie. So Yuen saves Ma from getting stabbed and dies. Ma gives him a bloodstained handkerchief that he made in prison, saying about starting all over. And Ma leaves Shanghai with his new girl, Kim. I think what is a shame about this movie, where it feels it's just in a rush. You know, the message of Boxer from Shantung is that the original is actually quite lost with the pacing of this film. Like, does Ma learn a lesson at the end of this movie? I know Tam dies, but in the movie, it's like he tried being a gangster. It didn't work out, so he just leaves to start fresh. You know, that he sort of goes off with his girl on the train, and that's it. You know, he tried to be a gangster. It wasn't the life for him, and that's it. I mean, I don't think he sort of... In the original, it's a really emotional, blood-drenched, brutal, violent finale. And in this film, it sort of ends on a mildly sort of happy note. He's, like I say, he tried being a gangster, it didn't work out, so, and there isn't that much emotional raw impact as there is in the original. And it's still good. I say, don't get me wrong, it's still good and it's still worth watching. You know, you got a horse that's like a puppet at the start, but puppet horses aside, it's worth alone, as I mentioned, watching for Yuen Biao's performance, who very much does save the film. It's just a shame, unfortunately, that Hero, the remake of Boxer from Shantung, is not as epic as it should have been, or, you know, as it, you know, could have been as well. So if you've seen Hero and Boxer from Shantung, let me know if you know, which one do you prefer. Do you like this remake of Boxer from Shantung? Do you think it compares to the original? And let me know what you think. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. See you soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.